Apex Legends versus Hyper Scape, two battle royales known for their crazy fast-paced movement and also their amazing abilities that offer a lot of creativity. But which battle royale comes on top? Well, we're going to discuss exactly that in today's video. Let's jump straight into it. Before we jump into today's video, as always, if you enjoy, be sure to scroll down, consider giving this video a thumbs up so it gets recommended to more people and you're directly supporting the channel by doing that. And if you want to go watch my future streams on the new battle royale, and if you have any questions about it, be sure to head over to my Twitch and I can answer all of them questions on stream for you guys. But now that out of the way, I'm going to try and upset as least amount of people as possible, because I know this video won't go down well with some of the people watching this video. So let's try and upset as least amount of people as we can and try and keep this a very fair debate. So we're going to be discussing 5 things that Hyper Scape have done better than Apex Legends, and then also 5 things Apex Legends have actually done better than Hyper Scape. And then at the end, we're going to do that roundup and I'm going to be answering which I think is the better battle royale in terms of raw gameplay. So the first thing that Apex Legends does better than Hyper Scape and completely blows Hyper Scape out of the water is they focus on team play much better than Hyper Scape. Now, the game mode is exactly the same. The only difference is that there's 3 more teams on Hyper Scape. It's the standard trios and there's 33 teams instead of 30. So some of you guys might be thinking, well, what is the difference in terms of team play and team integration? Well, although you have got 2 other teammates on your team, there isn't much team integration in this game, which is a little bit disappointing. And when you go into a game of Hyper Scape, it's every man for themselves, and unlike Apex Legends, you can't create opportunities with your teammates. Now, this could also be a really good thing. The fact that it's not a very team-based game means you can play solo quite well. Enemies don't go down, they just get killed straight away and turn into an echo, so you don't have to finish off enemies. And because most other teams are also spread out, then playing solo in this game, solo versus squads, is actually doable compared to Apex Legends. But Apex Legends has had that team integration since launch, and that is possibly the reason why they haven't added solos in Apex Legends, but they have added it in Hyper Scape as an LTM 2 days after the beta came out. So the first thing Hyper Scape actually does better than Apex Legends is the loot system. Now, I can't begin to explain how much I'm in love with the loot system. It is the most simplistic loot system you've ever seen. There is no body shields, there's no ammo types, and there's no attachments for your guns. It's more fighting and less looting. The ammo type is the same on all weapons, so you haven't got to specifically find heavy ammo or light ammo for specific guns. They've made the loot system so simple that you very rarely have to loot up. The RNG is almost non-existent, and as I said earlier, the looting is so simple that halfway through the game you won't even have to worry about looting up anymore. If there's one thing that annoys me about Apex Legends, it's playing with random teammates that are still looting up after 5 minutes when you already want to go in the next ring and you want to be pushing more enemies. And that's the one thing that's very annoying about Apex Legends, and also the fact that when you kill enemies you have to go through their death box. Rather than the loot just falling all over the floor, you can just spam the pickup button, pick up what you need and get straight into the next gunfight. So the next thing that Apex does better is a wide variety of guns. Now, this is just a beta for Hyper Scape. They did say they were going to add more weapons in the game, but they're not going to have anywhere near as amount of weapons that we've currently got in Apex Legends. If you're looking to play ultra defensive or aggressive, you have loads of choice in Apex Legends. Hyper Scape only has 9 weapons in the game. They'll probably add a few more, maybe 3 or 4 more when the game comes out, and that's nowhere near the amount they've got in Apex Legends. So in terms of options, there aren't many options for guns, and guns are the most important thing in any BR. But the good thing about Hyper Scape having a very limited amount of loot is that you don't have to go half the game just trying to find the best loot for you. You can find your favorite gun very early on, and this is why they have a very limited amount of loot compared to other battle royales, because they want you to focus less on the looting side of things and more on just getting stuck in on the action. So I can see why Hyper Scape have done that, but the game might get a bit repetitive if they don't add a wide range of options. The next thing that Hyper Scape does better than Apex Legends, I'm sure most of you guys would have guessed I would mention this, is the movement. Now, when it comes to movement in both battle royales, we can't can't ignore the fact that Hyper Scape beats Apex on this one. What they have done with the movement is just scientific and magical. Now, Apex Legends could probably add a crazy amount of movement. They could put the double jump in the game. They could put wall running in the game, but they don't want to. So this is the big difference here. It suits Hyper Scape because most of your gunfights are going to be on roofs and you're going to jump from one building to another on roofs, but the movement feels very smooth. It feels fresh, and I thought when I played Apex Legends for the first time, the movement was so good that no other game would be able to beat it. And here we have Hyper Scape giving us the double jump, giving us a crazy boost slide. You guys thought the Apex Legends slide was fast. Well, in Hyper Scape, you can go about 5 times the speed you can of running. The slide is actually OP in this game. So the next thing Apex Legends beats Hyper Scape on is that you can be more strategic and actually plan yourself throughout the game, where you're going to rotate next, how you're going to get the height advantage against enemies, how you're going to use your abilities. Well, in Hyper Scape, there's not much planning that is involved. Every game is completely different and there's enemies bouncing all over your screen. If you plan to get the height advantage in Apex Legends and get in a very good position, you're likely going to go on and win the game. But in Hyper Scape, if you get in a very high position, enemies can easily get there using the slam ability, which boosts you up in the air, even teleport, or even using the ball ability. So everything is almost counterable in Hyper Scape, and because of how chaotic games are, there's not much planning involved. You just go into a game and deal with the situation as it arises. I like that sentence. Deal with the situation as it arises and as it comes to you. That's the definition of Hyper Scape. The next thing Hyper Scape does better than Apex Legends is that it's fast paced. Now, because as I said earlier, there's less looting and the movement is even better than Apex Legends, you are always fighting in this game. In Apex Legends, you can even go 3 or 4 minutes without finding enemies at all, and it can get very boring. Well, that's the complete opposite in Hyper Scape. You will never get bored because once you finish a gunfight, right next to you there'll be another gunfight going on, and there'll be about 3 or 4 more gunfights behind you. It's just craziness. When people say it's fun and addictive, they're saying it because of how many fights you're going into and the pure rush of excitement, knowing that you're always going to be fighting enemies. And that's something that Warzone and even Apex Legends cannot compete with, because you can go so long without finding enemies, and that's when it starts to get a little bit boring. So the next thing that Apex Legends does better than Hyper Scape is that it's more balanced. So I know some of you guys might be laughing at this right now, thinking there's so many overpowered things in Apex Legends right now, but it's nothing compared to Hyper Scape. Hyper Scape at the moment, there's a specific weapon called the Hexfire, and you have to be rocking that. If you don't rock the Hexfire, then you're going to get killed against enemies that are using it. And I also think there's certain abilities in Hyper Scape that are currently the meta, and although they're going to be bringing out buffs and nerfs, there are just some things in that game that I think the majority of people are going to be using. Whereas Apex Legends, there are a large range of people using different weapons and different legends, and that's the most amazing thing. You don't feel pressured to use a specific legend or a specific weapon because you feel like you're at a massive disadvantage if you don't use it. Whereas Hyper Scape is the opposite right now. You have to use certain things to feel like you've got the true advantage in the game. I mean, apart from Caustic's Trap, if we just leave Caustic's Trap out of it, the game's pretty balanced. So the next thing Hyper Scape does a lot better than Apex Legends, it's the rotation. Now, another reason why this game is so fast paced is because the zone times are very short. Buildings decay very quickly, whereas Apex Legends, you can even have 4 squads left halfway through the game and you have to go so long until you find the next enemy. This is something Apex Legends can really improve on, the fact that ring times are very slow, which makes it very slow paced, and Apex Legends has very fast movement. You don't need to be going even 4 minutes without finding enemy teams. Come on Apex, you could do much better than that. So lastly, I want to touch on the abilities on both games, also known as hacks on Hyper Scape, and the disadvantages and advantages on each game. Now, Hyper Scape, in my opinion, has a better ability system purely because you're not locked into certain abilities from a specific legend, and you can use different abilities throughout the game by picking them up off the floor. This means that you can be more creative and change up your playstyle halfway through the game if you would like. Maybe at the beginning you can start off with aggressive abilities, and then you can pick up some defensive abilities later on in the game, and you're not locked down to the same abilities from a legend. That's why I think I prefer it on Hyper Scape. Now, it wouldn't make sense for Apex Legends to give us abilities on the floor because that just defeats the whole purpose of having legends. and Apex Legends is known for the Legends having set abilities, so I wouldn't want it changed if I had the opportunity to change it, but I do prefer how Hyper Scape does it, and I think they've nailed the ability system very well. But the awesome thing about the Apex Legends abilities is that they have more opportunity to work as a team, and they can help your team out as well. There are no abilities in Hyper Scape, or very few abilities that can actually help your team out. But now we've spoken about the abilities, it's come to that time of the video where I have to decide what I think is the better made Battle Royale, purely for gameplay. And if I'm talking about raw gameplay, I'm going to have to go with Hyper Scape. And the reason why, as I said earlier, is because they've got a very fast, simple loot system. They've got a better movement mechanic in the game. And I'm a fast-paced person. I love playing games at a very fast pace. Apex Legends at the moment has a lot of problems, and I think Hyper Scape, what they've done is they've looked at Warzone, they've looked at Apex Legends, and they've looked at the feedback on other BRs, and what they've done is they've adjusted to their BR, and they haven't brought in any of the problems that are currently in Apex Legends or even Warzone as well. So that's the advantage of a game releasing later than the other, and it's understandable why Hyper Scape has a better feel of the gameplay, because it has released a year after Apex Legends, and it should be a better made BR because it's released a lot later. But this isn't to say Apex Legends is a worse game, or I think it's a worse game. I'm just talking about raw gameplay alone. It focuses on the main thing, which is gunfights, and that is the main thing in any shooting game you should focus on. I feel like everything we hate in Apex Legends, we don't have in Hyper Scape. But of course, you guys are going to have different opinions. Be sure to let me know down below in the comment section as always, and this doesn't mean I'm not going to play Apex Legends anymore. Nonetheless, I'm going to wrap this video up here. As always, let me know your thoughts on what you think is the best BR down below in the comment section, and nonetheless, I'll catch all of you guys out in another brand new Apex Legends or Hyper Scape video.